everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Masterclass, Cross-Cultural MBA in International Management, Paving the Way for Inspiring Career Changes. My name is Martina, and I will be the moderator today on behalf of the prep team. In this online session, you will get the chance to learn how ESCP MBA in International Management provides young professionals with the business skills and mindset for a successful international career. During the entire session, you will be able to type your questions in the Q&A box, and at the end of this event, our presenters will take time to answer all of the questions. If you face any troubles, please switch to Zoom app at the left bottom on your screen. And now I'm giving the floor to our first speaker, the Associate Dean of the MBA in International Management at ESCP.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Koutsouvoulou. I'm professor at ESCP Business School. My teaching and research areas are leadership and negotiation process, and also spending a lot of my professional life doing consulting and being very close to corporate world. And so I'm very happy to be with you all, with Isabel Pernau, who's in charge, is a very important person for our program. She's the director of all the admission process, and also with Gianmarco, a very valuable, precious alumnus of the program. He's here to give you his testimony about, the changes that, thanks to himself, but also thanks to the MBA he had in his professional life. So what I propose you now is for the upcoming 30 minutes is just to share a little bit of time thinking about leadership and about our approach of leadership at the ESCP Business School, and mainly in the program, in the MBA in International Management. Why? Because leadership is at the heart of our mission statements in the program. So to share with us the same approach of leadership nowadays is very, very important, because it's going to allow you to see what's, let's say, the spirit and the mindset of our program, and where we would like to bring our students and our alumnus. And by the way, Gianmarco is here to confirm at the end what I'm going to show you. So I will try to share my screen. Okay, and so of course, should you have any questions, I will be here to answer your questions at the end of our presentation, of our global presentation. So the title of this very short intervention of mine is Strategic Leadership in the VUCA Era, and what are the lessons that we can learn from the Roseto case. You may not be aware of where is Roseto, what is Roseto. You see only the picture of a very, very beautiful Italian village. Gianmarco is very acquainted with this harmony and aesthetics of Italy, which are, let's say, famous worldwide. So this is Roseto. It's a village in Italy, not very far from Rome. And I will just give you a few insights about leadership, and then try to make a connection between this village leadership and our program, our MBA in International Management. First of all, talking about leadership, let's see if all of us, we have the same definition of what's a leader. So it's all about the fundamentals, the basics. What's a leader? And so the leader is a person. First of all, the leader is a person. We in the companies nowadays, in corporations, they're very international corporations, spread worldwide, etc. We have executive committees, we have local committees, we have global committees, but at the end, at the head of this organization, there is a leader, and this leader gives the pace and the mindset and the managerial and leadership culture. So there is a leader, and then we have other leaders who are in charge of the different business units, the different departments, etc., and they share, all of them, the same leadership or managerial culture. So the leader is a person, and it's someone that gives the vision, it's someone that gives the objectives, but it's someone also who directs other people. So when one talks about leadership, he needs or she needs to keep in mind that there is no leader without followers, okay? And that's making the difference between authority, between leader and leadership. So the leader needs followers. And so he directs or she directs these followers through an impact that the leader will have or has on their value system and effects. That means that we need to have a connection between the leader, not only as a person, but the leader as a value system, let's say, vector, and affects and emotions. So the leader is a person who leads people, and it's better if the leader possesses legitimacy. He has authority or she has authority, personal authority, and sometimes charisma. However, charisma is not let's say, a compulsory requirement of a leader. We can imagine a leader, woman or man, without charisma. He or she can always be a leader. But let's say that a leader without legitimacy, then it's very difficult. So leader needs to have legitimacy. And of course, the main tool of leadership is influence, either moral or affective. That means that we cannot be a leader without being aware of the fact that we rely on a community of people. Okay, so this is very important. The leader is not a self-centered person, is not a one-man show. So the leader is someone who needs to have followers and to rely on a community. And that's why, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, the leadership is a process of influence on people. It can be positive influence or negative influence, but at ESCP, we learn, we educate our students to be positive, of course, and reflective leaders. So here, just in a nutshell, to give you a glance of someone very, very important in leadership studies and strategic studies is Henry Mintzberg. He's an emeritus professor at McGill. And so accordingly to Mintzberg, you know, in reference to the debate, is a manager the same with the leader? Does the leader do different things than the manager, etc.? Mintzberg, he says all that is no sense. Leader and the manager is the same person. The leader is the manager that he or she is just doing his work, his job well. Okay, and here Mintzberg gives us the different roles, okay, professional roles that are held by the leader. So the leader has the informational role, the interpersonal role, and the decisional role. So you see that the leader has to make the link between what happens outside the organization, inside the organization, and the people, okay, in the organization. So he needs to have an action on interpersonal level. And what we ask a leader is just to make decisions. So a leader has to decide, and even if nowadays decision making is not very easy, because we see that, you see that in the title, I just insert the word VUCA, is that the word is very complex nowadays, and we all experience that. So the leader has to make decisions despite the fact that she or he is operating in very complex environments. Okay, so why do organizations need leaders? Okay, because we could say, you know, we have a very famous colleague at the ESCP Business School. We are very proud to count amongst our professors, Professor Isaac Getz. I always quote Isaac when I do this presentation, and at this point of my presentation of leadership, and to answer the question, why do organizations need leaders? Isaac Getz, he's the co-author of a very, very famous book. The title is Freedom and Company, and he claims organizations that they are set free by from, you know, the managers and the leaders. Why? And mainly the manager more than the leaders, you know, people, operational people who create problems, political issues, etc. Because he says that if we responsibilize people, you know, and all the social actors of the organization, if we responsibilize all the collaborators, all the employees, we don't need managers, we don't need leaders. And I may say at this point that I agree, but at maybe 30% of what he says. Why? Because reality is complex. So we need people who keep the gap, who keep, a very clear objective target for the organization, and they are able to communicate that and to organize all the people, the effort, the endeavor of the social, body of the organization towards the same objective. That's why nowadays I'm not very sure that an organization who is totally set free from managers and leaders will be an organization easy to live in. But at any rate, why organizations do need leaders? Because organizations, they are not perfect. Organizations, they are imperfect gatherings of people, and they are entropic. Entropic, the entropy is the energy that comes up from the disorder. Okay, engineers, they know very well what's entropy. Okay, and so the organization tends constantly to deregulation. Okay, because you have internal forces and you have external forces. For example, who was able to imagine 1.5 years back, what would happen with the COVID? Okay, and all this, effect that this one person who was sick in China one day in Wuhan would produce, in our planet, on our planet. So in order to be able to organize, the corporations, despite all the different deregulations, we need leaders and we need managers, because we need people, as I said, who are able to keep the gap and to have a strategic vision and to make decisions. It's very important not to stop making decisions, even if then some people in the organization will be happy and some others, they will say that your decisions were crap. We always need leaders who are able to make decisions and try to make a sense in the disorder. So to keep the gap. Secondly, to remedy the organization's imperfections, okay? And through a process, I wrote there, of complex process of influence, negotiations inside the organization and outside the organization. And of course, generally by helping staff to improve and to understand and to embrace the change and to become agile and to be able to follow the evolutions of the organization. And to create conditions for identification. Because, when the leader has to make very tough decisions, and nowadays organizations, they will make tough decisions. If the social body of the organization is not able to follow the leader, then it will be very difficult for the organization to stay effective, performant for the long run, okay, and to embrace change. So that's why we need leaders. So here is just show you in a nutshell what's VUCA. VUCA is a term that comes from the military universe, and it was proposed in order to describe complexity, and complexity that the organization, so organizational studies, they took this concept of VUCA and we use it to describe or to analyze current complexity. So VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. And of course, because we're running out of time, we have only 30 minutes. I will not explain very concretely what does it mean. All of you can understand volatility, what is, it's a big change, it's a change that we cannot foresee, we cannot control. Uncertainty, it's the same. We receive information, but we cannot be 100% sure that this information is objective or is subjective, and it stands for the long run or not. Complexity, of course, I will not explain because all of us, we understand what's complexity. And of course, ambiguity is the same. So we are currently, and I took the example of COVID-19 because it's so, unfortunately, it's our reality, how much it creates a VUCA context. So the manager is in turmoil, okay? Because you see, the manager or the leader, she or he has to decide in a very fast pace. So you see the rabbit there, okay? There is a rabbit. We ask the manager and the leader to be able to adapt, to be able to decide. But at the same time, the leader and the manager is a sort of torture. Why? Because he's so very much anchored in reality. You see, we are so much anchored in reality, and reality is full of constraints. And if we take into account these constraints, we will not decide. So what makes the manager or the leader a torture is the people that this manager and leader have in the organization. So in order for the manager and the leader to let's say to gain agility, to be able to make difficult sometimes decisions, or to say to the social body of the organization, trust me, follow me, I know that this is the way we should go to, but trust me, let's go and let's take the risk. In order to do that, manager and leader need to create communities, need to create identification in the organization. This is very important. Need to be not a self-centered person, but a person, a strategic person who is able to look forward, look far, to make fast decisions, to take risks, but at the same time to be very much caring with what we have in the organization, and mean that we have people, and these people, we rely on them and we need them to follow. And here I come to Rosetto. I don't know how much time I still have. Let me check. Still have 15 minutes maybe? Yes, I see Isabel. So I ask you to find the similarities between this very, 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 very beautiful village. You see Rosetto Val Fortore that makes us dream all. And this one, it's less, let's say, aesthetically speaking, it's less beautiful. It's not very similar, but however, they have a lot of similarities. They have a lot of similarities. And what are these similarities is that here is a Rosetto that you can find here, as I said, in Italy. And here is another Rosetto. It's very far from the Italian one. And it's in Pennsylvania, not very far from Philadelphia, from Philly. And so you have two different Rosetto, but they are the same Rosetto. And currently in Greece, and we have Athens in Greece, and you have also Athens somewhere, or in an island, the name is Andros, and you have an Andros in the Bahamas. And so we have always places with the same names, etc. But this Rosetto, it's not like Athens in Texas and Athens in Greece, or Andros in Greece and Andros in Bahamas. This Rosetto is very, very, very similar, the one in the States with the other in Italy. And let me explain you why it's similar. And this is the guy, it's a physician, he's a doctor, is Dr. Stuart Wolf in the 50s. In the early 50s, Dr. Stuart Wolf, he spread very wide this Rosetto mystery, this Rosetto story. He made it public, and he published this book, this story, in a book dedicated to health issues, because he was a physician, and it gives us a lot of learnings that we can apply to our, don't forget, to our question mark, big question mark, how leader can create community, because nowadays leader needs to create community. So this physician, Mr. Stuart Wolf, in the early 50s, he tried to understand why people in Rosetto, Pennsylvania, they had this very high rate of survival. There were people who lived very, very old, very much older than, the average of all the other Americans in the States, in the state of Pennsylvania, but not also in the state of Pennsylvania, in the States in generally, So they had no cholesterol, they had no heart attacks, they had no other diseases, and they were living very, very, very old. And so he said, what happens? What's the difference between these people of Rosetto and the others from the initial Rosetto? And so, and the other Americans. And so he went there with his students, and he spent a lot of time, you know, doing interviews and trying to study the way of living of, you know, and the habits and, you know, the food and, you know, all the other, you know, the working habits, etc., etc. And he found no difference between the American people and those from Roseto. And then he get aware about, you know, the story of people from Roseto. And it's very interesting, the story of people of Roseto, you know, because this story starts at the end of 19th century in Italy. And Roseto was a very poor village. And people that were working in, you know, in the fields, they were working, you know, they were breaking stones. And so they were working very hard to ensure a decent life to their families, but they work together. You know, all of you, I hope for you, you watch all these movies, the Italian movies, the Cinema Paradiso, and all the movies of Vittorio De Sica. If not, I really invite you to watch all the movies of Vittorio De Sica. It's a pleasure. And so you will see that people, you have communities there and you have gatherings, okay? So you had at the end of 19th century, 11 people, they were men. They left Roseto in Italy to go to the States and try to find a better life, you know. So they arrived in Ellis Island in New York, as all, you know, people, immigrants at this period at the end of the 19th century. And then they said, oh, we're going to California, we're going to the new land of California. And then they moved to, you know, to the West, and just, let's say, less than 200 miles from New York, so it was very, very short. Their journey was very short. They found a place with a hill. It was a very, very mild, very, very smooth hill. And then a place with a city, the name was Bangor. And so they found a job there, what was very similar with what we were doing in Italy. And so they established a community, a small community there near Bangor. And then they start working, and the weather was nice, and they start to get better conditions. And then they brought other people, and the next year 30 people, and the year after 50 people, and so on and so forth. And at the beginning of 20th century, at let's say 1920, we had more than 3,000 people, or don't know, 3,000 people, and then 10,000 people, etc. And then they started searching, you know, for the name. What would be the name of the city? And they were together, and they spoke only Italian, and they had created exactly the same streets and the same habits and the same buildings, and they had the same church. And so they gave the same name, and the name was Roseto. So they established a new Roseto, what was a copy-paste, absolute copy-paste of the initial Roseto. And despite all the differences, you know, in the food with the initial Roseto and all the others, these people, they had no cholesterol, they had no heart attacks, because they were together. The only factor who made the difference between the American people in the surroundings and the other villages and the other Americans in all the states and the Roseto people, it was that these people had reproduced exactly the same community they had in Italy. They didn't eat pizzas or olive oil or whatever. They ate exactly the peanut butter as the Americans did. They did exactly the same as the Americans, but they were together and they had no disease. And this case, the Roseto case, you can find it in a very, very great book of a great, great author. It's Malcolm Gladwell, and the book is Outliers. And he starts his book with the Roseto story. And it's very interesting, and I really invite you to go and read this Outliers book. It's absolutely great. So today we have VUCA, okay? And we don't have cholesterol issues because we have a lot of pills, we have medicines, etc., etc. But we have VUCA, and VUCA, they create stress, okay? And we have the same objective, is just to survive in this turmoil, to make decisions to survive, to show the way, and to bring everyone on board in order to follow and to reach your objectives. And that's why when we ask leaders to be agile, okay, you see this elephant on the bowl. So it's what we ask leaders, is we ask them to be agile and try to make, the balance on the bowl, okay? And so we ask them to have this agility. And in the agility, we have the personal component. We have the leader who says, yes, I can. I can do it. I can decide in this complexity. I can be agile. But also you have another component, which is very important. It's the situational component, okay? Are the others aware of the fact that all the organization needs to be agile? And here is Rosetto, how Rosetto can give us lessons for the VUCA era. Because if we want to give leader the possibility to be agile, then we have to go back to Rosetto and to see what's the power of the clan. Of course, the clan has negative also aspects, not only positive, because the clan means that you are a sort of, let's say, self-centered organization, okay, what is not what is expected. But instead of clan, let's see how we can create trust and create communities. Because you see, when you see these two people, you see the lady with the apple and you see the guy, trying to just, go to the, to just not to kill the lady, but to reach, the apple. That means that the lady, you see that she feels secure, and she also grinning somehow because she believes that this guy will not hurt her. And that means that we have a community. So build trust, build communities is very important for leaders tomorrow. And here is just to tell you that trust is threefold. We don't have only one trust, but we have three different trusts. We have the calculus based, this is the contract, the rationality, do this, do that. I know that I can trust you, we signed a contract, etc. We have the knowledge-based trust. That means that I know you, you know me, we can trust, etc. But the one who is far more sustainable, the trust who is really a milestone to create real sustainable leadership and communities within organizations, despite the fact that we are in a complex environment, is the identification-based trust. That means people identify themselves to their organization and to community. And so just to wrap it up, and because it's it was a very fast pace, we know that solid communities prevail crisis, okay? We know that. We demonstrate that, and we give proof, evidence in experiments, in studies, in organizational studies, strategic studies, etc., but also in the corporate world. And here I'm wearing my hat of consultant, and I can tell you that yes, solid communities prevail crisis, and corporate communities. And our commitment in our MBA is not just to provide society with leaders, self-centered leaders, people, women and men who are able to decide, to innovate, etc., to go beyond, to be disruptive, etc., but also reflective leaders who are able to create communities and to be agile and to create sustainable networks. And that means people, when we say create a reflective, people who are able to change. And here we will see afterwards with Gianmarco how the MBA contributed to this evolution and contributed to this change. Okay, so I'm done. It's all what I wanted to tell you today. And of course, I will be very glad afterwards. I will stay with you. I will just cut my camera and I will stay with you to give you any insights should you need about our program and about VUCA leadership and Rosetto. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. Before I'm giving the floor to Isabel, I just want to launch the poll, and I will take no more than a couple of seconds. And Okay, thank you. Isabel, I'm giving the floor to you. We are ready with the poll. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, can I
your
start?
time.
Can
Yes.
I start? Okay,
Yes.
hello everyone. As Maria told you, my name is Isabelle Bernard. I'm in charge of the recruitment. I'm based in Paris. I won't have time to give you lots of information regarding our program, so I will give you some key points. But of course, if you want to discuss with me and to take an appointment with me, I will be always pleased to discuss in details with you. So our MBA in International Management program at ESCP Business School is a 10 months full-time program split into different countries of your choice. So you cannot do the full program in only one country. You can choose between London, Paris, or Turin for the semester 1. And then you need to change and go to Berlin, Madrid, or Paris for the semester 2. During these 10 months, you will learn a lot. It's an intense program with different core courses, 17 different core courses, and 4 electives of your choice. Our program is punctuated by 4 seminars and 2 consultancy projects. During the program, you can benefit from our career service and coaching hours. If you are interested by our program, I strongly recommend you to call me or to ask for an interview. You have my email address in the website, and you can also take an appointment because you have access to my agenda in the website. It depends on where you are located, but you have a contact of an admission officer in each country. The application form is in our website, and you have to complete about 10 pages online. If you want to be admitted in our program, so you need to have minimum 3 years of professional experience. You need to have a bachelor degree or a master degree. You need to pass an English test for non-native English speakers. So you have to take the TOEFL, the IELTS, or the TOEIC. You need also to pass the GMAT, but if you don't have them, no worries, because the school can provide alternative online tests. Now it's time to speak about price. The cost of the program is 46,350 euros. Of course, you can reduce the tuition fee with scholarships or grants. So, but be careful, they are not cumulative. Huh? Well, do I have time to talk about the scholarships? We have, as I told you, different scholarships. So we have the NGO scholarship, the Women's Scholarship, and the Entrepreneur Scholarship, and the amount is 15,000 euros. We also have the Society Contribution Scholarship, and the amount is 7,500 euros. Depends on the grants you will obtain during your interview and the application. You can obtain some grants. You can obtain the merit and diversity grants, and the amount is 9,500 euros. And you also can obtain the excellence grant, and the amount is 10,500 euros. This program is designed for young managers, for people who want to boost their career, who wants to develop their skills, who wants to get out of your comfort zone. So you will work in team, you in an international environment. So it's time to extend also your network. So if you are interested and if you want to join us, I would be very, very pleased to welcome you, to give you an appointment, to discuss with you in details concerning your professional project, why you want to do this program, why now? Is it time for you to do it? Or do you want to postpone this your intake for next year? So this is really important to know when you want to do this program, and I'm here to help you. but not only me, because you have an admission officer in each country. So please call them. You have all details in the website. So that's it for me. Now I will give the floor to Gianmarco, who is one of our famous and dedicated alumnus. And of course, I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel, for the famous and dedicated.
It's a pleasure.
Hi, so yes, I'm Gianmarco Guadalupi. It's nice to virtually meet you. I would like to tell you about my experience joining ESCP Europe in 2019 for the MBA program, and how that affected my career path, not only also personal path. So my journey started like the presentation that Maria did in the south of Italy, not in Roseto, but in Puglia. If you didn't visit it yet, it's a wonderful region. Where I was born, I spent the first part of my life. And after that, I moved to Turin to become an engineer. So for who doesn't know, more or less, university in Italy, in the north of Italy, there are good engineering schools. So I wanted to be an engineer. I moved there, I did my studies, and after my studies, I joined an automotive company, Fiat Chrysler, in the manufacturing sector. I did a really well start of my career. I was at the beginning responsible for the industrialization of the Alfa Romeo Giulia. It's a vehicle which my company was producing. And after that, a process manager in a vehicle production plant. But even if my career was taking a good, let's say, growing path, I was unsatisfied because I felt I was constrained in a path that didn't give me the possibility to explore all other jobs and all other also type of leadership. That was one of the reasons why I decided to change that I could have in my future career. That's why it was a hard decision. And I know for all of you, if you are working today, it's always one of the biggest decisions, at least of this part of your life, to leave your job to do a full-time MBA. It was really hard for me, but I'm really happy today to have done it. So I decided to leave my job and to do a full-time MBA to learn how to be a better manager, because I was unsatisfied of the type of management, of leadership that I saw around me. It was, I think, as Maria showed, management and leadership is a real subject that should be learned also at school, not only on the field, because sometimes learning by example, if examples are not great, can lead on the wrong path. So I decided to learn this, but also to move to Paris. That at the time, but also today, was what I would call the European center of innovation. You know, they call France today the startup nation. Government has invested a lot in new startups, in new innovation, and in digital transformation. And I wanted to be part of this. So I joined ESCP Europe in 2019. I follow a track of Turin. So I started in my home city at the time to move 6 months after to Paris, where I had also the barrier of the language, because at the time I didn't speak French, so I had to learn it. I had the possibility to learn it gradually during the 6 months of my MBA, because the MBA is all English taught. So during my English classes, after my English classes, I had the time to start to learn French and be ready, because in my case, I wanted to stay in Paris to learn, besides all the core subjects that I learned in the MBA, also the language of the city I wanted to go to live in. The experience was amazing. Also, you really understand the value that it gave you some months, some years, maybe after. The diversity I was thrown in, it was something that rarely you will have afterwards in your life, because classes are composed by, in my case, I don't have the percentages, but we were coming from all the continents. There were the biggest, let's say, group from the same country could be about 5 people in classes of 30 people. So there was never a dominant culture in the class. It was really the exchange was what was great. But also, besides the network part and then the group activities, and these, I think if you are interested in MBA, you know it's one of the most valuable parts. I consider the quality also of the teachings of ESCP has given me a lot of value in what I do today. It's something that you might not see immediately, because it's really intense. Also full-time, you do the MBA day and night. It's fun, but it's heavy, and you don't really understand how you will apply these in your future. You see real case applications, but it's difficult to project yourself in your future career. And today I can say, I just saw the presentation of Maria. She talked about complexity, VUCA. She talked about type of leadership of the Mintzberg model. They can seem things really abstract, let's say, that you learn in school, but you don't apply in your job. I can say to Maria and also to you that today I'm a consultant in digital transformation, and we actually use the Mintzberg. I see, Maria, you might be interested in this. We actually use the Mintzberg model to evaluate the leadership in our client's organization, the leadership model, and to adapt our approach, our proposition to give the best results that they are looking for their transformation. Because we know the human component is something really important, even in digital transformation, that we might think is just softwares and data, not at all. So we really analyze our client using these models, these frameworks, to do a proposition that is coherent with what they do. So to finish and leave you time for the questions. So today I'm, as I say, I'm a senior consultant in a young company called Cognitive Companions. We do a new approach to consulting. The ambition is to regenerate the old consulting approach through the integration of the human component, the social and psychological component of the cognitive process, and applying it in all our proposition to our clients. We are a small team of 15 people, and we work in an international environment. We are also, in our team, we are 5 different nationalities, and we work with clients from different continents. And so just to tell you the differences between my path before and after the MBA. So I was in a huge company of I think Fiat Chrysler should be, but today is with Peugeot, it's even bigger, but at the time it was more or less 200,000 employees. Today I'm in a reality of 15 employees. I was working in Italy in my comfort zone, in my comfort language. Today I'm in France. I had to learn a new language. I mostly speak French at work, but also English. So I'm. It's something. It depends on you, but really stimulates me to also learn a new language and face me with this type of challenges. And before I was in the manufacturing field, really, let's say, concrete field where I was managing, directly managing a team on the production line. Today, I'm a senior consultant, so I don't directly manage people, but I have a different different objectives, different approach to management and to leadership. And I have to deal with my clients. It's something that before Maria talks about authority. It was easier to me having a direct responsibility to show this authority, this leadership. It's different when you have a client that is you need to gain his trust. It's another type of leadership. So I'm exploring a completely different job. I don't say that one is better than the other, but thanks to the MBA, I'm able to do two things that are almost the opposite. And I'm sure, I'm confident, I see already my career, but I'm confident that in the future, to have had the possibility to try both will open me even more doors than the MBA opened just after that. So that's, I took a little bit of time, but I hope you learn a bit about me and you can frame your questions better.
Thank you so much. Thank you to three of you for this really interesting and valuable information. I can see some questions in the Q&A box, and I can see that Isabel have already answered some of them. Thank you so much. That's great. The first one, thank you so much. Very insightful information. I would like to know how to manage a startup business in crisis and what are the chances for survival? That's the first question.
Maybe I could answer or bring a few answers, but I think that Gianmarco, because now we are colleagues, you are in consulting at them too, so we could answer together. I love, Gianmarco, what you said about gaining the trust of the customer, because it's exactly that. It's the attitude that we need to have. So it depends. It depends how. It's very, very general to launch the business and to launch it, how to launch it, etc. It depends the sector. So the field, there are fields they are going through crisis nowadays for sure, but there are others, on the contrary, they are going very, very well. They are doing very well. So it depends on the field. And so how important social media for business growth? Of course, social media is very important nowadays. It's about digitalization, etc. And in the program we have core courses about entrepreneurship and also an entrepreneurship bootcamp, and we put you in contact with people who launch their own companies. So I think that yes, these are maybe the ones who could give you the best answer, but it's very, very general as a question, is that it depends on the sector. I don't know, Gianmarco, do you think that you can say more than what I said as a consultant working with companies?
I can say for young businesses, but also for big businesses, social media today, it's more and more important. If I think in my organization, I have the opportunity to not only work as a consultant, but to work on the marketing part and business development. And so I know how important it is for us also to do the prospection part, to seek for new clients using social media and using our social image. That's key. I think today no business can avoid that. But
sure.
You're right, Maria. In the entrepreneurship class, we discussed about we had a class about the social media importance in business development. So
For sure. Yes.
Thank you for this answer. The next question, in your opinion, what are the most important soft skills one should have in order to succeed in business?
Okay. I can give a part of the answer, but maybe also my colleagues could give, and Gianmarco could give the other part from, you know, the other point of view, the former student point of view and current executive is, I think that for sure, agility, it's very important. And I said before in my presentation that in agility, the fact to be agile is not to be afraid to move, to change, to adapt. Okay, so agility, adaptability is very important. And there is a personal component. It's a sort of self-belief that you can do it, that we can do it, even if we dive in the sort of the unknown, you know, environment, etc. Yes, I will take the risk and can do it. So agility, for sure, empathy. It's very, very important. I think that people who have certitudes, maybe they can be in trouble nowadays. So the fact that you are, let's say that you are a reflective leader, as I said before. And what is a reflective? It means someone who is not afraid to put herself or himself under questioning, okay? Saying, was this, let's say, decision the right one or not? That doesn't mean not to decide, but just to, let's say, make again the movie, go back and say, okay, what happened and what I have to keep and what I have to change. So communication skills, empathy, agility, so no certitudes, agility, and reflectivity, I would say, are the most important. You know, we have, you know, the IQ, which is, you know, okay, the intelligence quotient and that we can measure, etc. We have the CQ, the cultural quotient, and that comes to the next question, okay? And we have the EQ, the emotional quotient, which is absolutely important, okay? So when it comes to the emotional quotient and all what I said before, it's what you should have in soft skills. It was too long. I'm always too long.
Thank you for the detailed explanation. The next question, what advice can you give when talking about building good business relationships with people from different cultures?
So maybe Gianmarco, because you experience very high intercultural spirit in the MBA, and you come from another culture, working in another culture, would you like to answer? Because
yeah, sure. I do think that networking in general and building relationships with people must be something natural. So it never should be something you are forcing too much. That's my personal opinion. You should try to the cultural part. I never had in business. You never really feel this distance. We talk the same language. It's business, let's say. For sure, you need to show your good intentions. Never propose yourself like you are just seeking for informations and you would give nothing away in return. Building relationships is always about exchange and sincerity. So you should keep in mind to be natural and to have something to offer to the person you're asking something back.
It's very important. Yes, Gianmarco, I totally agree. And by the way, for you, it's natural. It's something very easy because you have a very high emotional intelligence. And so that's why you can adapt. But you know, I think that for those who are not, who are more introverted, they are more rationally based, etc., rational based, etc., etc. I think that, you know, all of us, we have stereotypes. We have stereotypes about the others, about how the others' culture function, etc., etc. So you have to put aside your stereotypes about the others, but just as Gianmarco said, to take an interest into the others, and exactly as Gianmarco said, so to study the others' countries. If you, for example, if you have to go to China and work in China or in India or in the States, etc., to spend time working or studying the culture before, and also to put aside your stereotypes and prejudice and try to get yourself in their shoes, in their position. Say, okay, if I were in their shoes, what would be my way of perceiving reality? You know, always like that, with no being judgmental. So if you get rid of this judgmental attitude and say, okay, let's just understand how the others function, is great. And of course, exactly what Gianmarco said, to say, okay, what is my added value for the other? What can I offer? Okay, and we say that also in negotiation. When you start a negotiation, you always need to figure out what you can give the other person. Okay, so what you give the other meets his or her expectations. So it's a good start to work with other cultures, okay? To put aside your stereotypes, to try to wear the other glasses, and as Gianmarco said, to try to make the match between what you can give the other and the other culture's expectations.
Thank you so much for this answer. As I said, I can see that Isabel has already answered some of the questions, but I would like to say them out loud. So Isabel, maybe you can answer them once again. For example, there is a question about the program. How long does it usually take to receive the result of our admission interview?
Yes, I already answered to this question, but if you want me to answer, I can, of course. Well, in general, we have one admission date per month, and the result, you will receive the result of your admission 2 days or 3 days maximum after your interview. So we are very, very proactive.
Okay. We have a question about, do you accept Cambridge in advanced English certificate instead TOEFL? Maybe this is important to say it out loud to other parties.
Yeah, so we accept the TOEFL, the TOEIC, and the IELTS, but we don't accept all the English exam. We have put on place a specific English test, which is called the APTIS test. And this test is offered to all candidates who can submit their application in our program. This test has been designed for us by British Council, and this test is free of charge.
Okay. I believe that the other was very specific, so you have answered them in a direct message and they have received the answer.
Yes.
I want to thank you once again for this really insightful session and really interesting information. Thank you for taking your time and join us today.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to wish you a really good night and good luck in the academic journey in our attendees today. Have a nice evening and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.